You know that many millions of fans of Joan Rivers know her for a shopping channel or talk show hosting or comedy routines. But back when she started, she was a very prestigious young actress trying to find her way in a male dominated era. And we're going to be talking about that today because I think it needs to be recognized she was a trailblazer in her genre like you wouldn't believe. Now, Joan Alexandra Malinsky was born on June 33 in Brooklyn to Russian Jewish immigrants Beatrice and Meyer Malinsky, and Meyer was a doctor. She had an elder sister named Barbara. Rivers spent her early life in Prospect Heights and Crown Heights in Brooklyn. At the age of 8, she created her first alter ego, J. Sandra Meredith. She attended the Brooklyn Society for Ethical Culture School, which was a progressive and now defunct facility, and the Delphi Academy of Brooklyn, a college prep day school where she's co-chair of her school due to her past experience in theatrical activities. Within 2 years, she performed in the school cavalcades, and in 1949, age 16, she was VP of the Dramatic Club. She graduated from Delphi in 51 at age 18. In her adolescence, she relocated her family to Larchmont, north of New York City. Now, when she matriculated at Connecticut College, it was a family legacy to attend the institution, as her sister had done the same. Rivers has stated in interviews that she was overweight throughout her childhood, adolescence, and in college, and had a profound impact on her body image, which she struggled with throughout her life. After 2 years, she transferred to Barnard College, where she graduated in 54 with a BA in English Literature and Anthropology. Rivers reportedly said, as reported in the Washington Post, that she graduated summa cum laude and is a member of Phi Beta Kappa. However, biographers James Spada and Leslie Bennett found out these were fabrications, as with other statements such as sharing a lesbian kiss in a play with Barbara Streisand. They did both appear in a play named Driftwood, but were never on stage at the same time. Now, before entering show business, she worked at various jobs such as a tour guide at Rockefeller Center, a writer-producer at an advertising agency, and a fashion consultant at the Bond clothing stores. During this period, agent Tony Rivers advised her to change her name, so she chose Joan Rivers as her stage name. She stated that she had stopped sending her to auditions because of her unique original name. Now, during the late 50s, she appeared in a short off-Broadway play called Driftwood alongside Barbara Streisand. According to an interview with Adweek, the play ran for 6 weeks at the playwright Maurice Ty Dunn's apartment on 49th Street in New York. In the early 60s, Rivers performed at various comedy clubs in Greenwich Village, including the Bitter End, the Gaslight Cafe, and the Duplex. It was during this period that she befriended fellow comedians Woody Allen and George Carlin, often sharing meals with him. Rivers also had the opportunity to work alongside renowned musicians Bob Dylan, Barbara Streisand, Carly Simon, and Simon and Garfunkel in the Village. Now, between 63 and 64, she joined forces with Jim Connell and Jake Holmes in the cabaret act Jim, Jake, and Joan. The appearance at the Bitter End in 64 led to an inclusion in the motion picture Once Upon a Coffee House, marking Rivers' first credit to the feature film, and she was doing also work with Second City. However, the group disbanded soon after. Holmes later recalled an incident that led to her separation. We were supposed to perform at a rally for Bobby Kennedy, who was running for New York Senator in 1964. Joan showed up wearing a Republican Senate nominee Kenneth Keating button, and Jim told her to remove it. She refused, staunchly sticking to her political beliefs, and Jim said, "Who needs you anyway?" That was the end of Jim, Jake, and Joan. Now, Rivers also made a guest appearance on The Tonight Show, hosted by Jack Paar, which originated in New York. In 65, she worked as a gag writer and participated on Candid Camera, where she played the role of the bait to lure people into humorous situations for the show. After 7 auditions over 3 years, she made her first appearance on The Tonight Show with its new host, Johnny Carson, on February 17, 1965. Rivers considered this episode to be her breakthrough, as Carson famously told her, "You're going to be a star." She became a frequent guest on the show and developed a close friendship with him. Now, her profile skyrocketed in the following years as she began to make frequent guest appearances on popular shows like The Ed Sullivan Show, The Mike Douglas Show, The Dick Cavett Show, and Girl Talk with Virginia Gray. She even wrote material for the Puppet Mouse Topo Gigio. In addition, she had a small and significant role in the cult drama film The Swimmer, alongside Burt Lancaster, which drew her international fame because allegedly it took her multiple takes and Lancaster didn't really like working with her. Around the same time, she hosted a short-lived syndicated daytime talk show called That Show with Joan Rivers, which premiered on September 1668. Each episode had a unique theme, and Rivers opened with a monologue relating to that day's topic, then hosted celebrity interviews. The show also featured an expert on the subject and the celebrity guests. Early episodes featured prominent figures such as Carson, Jerry Lewis, Joel Grey, Don Rickles, and Godfrey Cambridge. During the mid-60s, she released at least 2 comedy albums. The next to last Joan Rivers album, and Rivers Presents Mr. Phillips and Other Funny Stories. Now, by the early 70s, this really got really, really large. She got into more writing and more acting. By the 70s, she continued to be a prominent figure on TV. Along with other guest spots on the late-night circuit, she also made appearances on The Carol Burnett Show, had a semi-regular stint on Hollywood Squares, and guest starred on Here's Lucy. Rivers then made her Broadway debut in the play Fun City, which opened on January 2nd, 1972, and co-starred Gabriel Dell, Rose Marie, and Paul Ford. It ran for only 9 perfs, amid a negative critical reception. Though a New York Times reviewer criticized the production as terrific to the point of being frazzled, he praised Rivers as a deft comedy writer and a very funny lady. From 1972 to 1976, she narrated the adventures of Letterman, an animated segment for the Electric Company. Now, another big breakthrough was in 1973 when she co-wrote the made-for-TV movie The Girl Most Likely To, a black comedy starring Stockard Channing as an ugly girl who becomes beautiful after undergoing plastic surgery and takes revenge on people who previously mistreated her. The film, based on Rivers' story, became a raging success and has been considered a cult classic. She also wrote a thrice-weekly column for the Chicago Tribune from 1973 to 1976 and published her first book, Having a Baby Can Be a Scream, in 1974. She described as a catalog of gynecological anxieties. By 1978, she made her directorial debut in a very underrated comedy Rabbit Test, which she also wrote and which starred her friend Billy Crystal's film debut as the world's first pregnant man. The film earned $12 million at the box office. Janet Maslin of the New York Times concluded, Miss Rivers has turned to directing without paying much heed to whether a whole movie constructed from one-liners is worth even the sum of its parts. During the same decade, she was on the kosher circuit, opening act for singers Helen Reddy, Robert Goulet, Paul Anka, Mac Davis, and Sergio Franchi on Las Vegas Strip. Now, the idea about Joan Rivers, the 1970s, she was kind of out of focus by a lot of people, but she was on the periphery. But by the 1980s, she became a huge star. Now, ironically, ladies and gentlemen, doing the comedy club circuit and Second City, at one point, like I said, she was the only comedian out there, other than Phyllis Diller, was making money. Now, she's had a interesting filmography, and we're going to go with some of the early roles. Her first role was in a show called Mr. Universe in 1951, which had an uncredited role as a teenage girl in the audience. But of course, the big and probably her most major part was a swimmer in '68. Probably was one of the most interesting scenes in the movie. Now, 1970s, again, Here's Lucy, Nielsen Pins, Husband, Wives, and Lovers, and America Tonight. And Husband, Wives, and Lovers, she was the creator and writer of the series. But like I said, the 80s belonged to her, but like it was like a slow build, and she was everywhere. And she became kind of a parody of herself while she was raking in tons of money. Personally, I think Joan Rivers is underrated as an actress, underrated as a writer, producer, director. You see the Joan Rivers character, but she's a survivor. And to die in unfortunate circumstances after, what they call, improvement surgery was a bummer. The world needs more people like Joan Rivers. She's immense talent. And she told the truth. She was like the most, put it this way, she was a gay man in a female heterosexual body, because the gay crowd needed a Joan Rivers, and she was a gay icon, really, because she took no shit. A real gay person don't take no shit, because who would choose to be gay? It's genetic, of course. So Joan Rivers said that once. He said, "Gay people are my best audience, whether they like me or not." So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a story about the early build of the career of Joan Rivers. If you like what they're doing here with our vintage TV and movie podcasts, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share. Bye.